The Afghan war cost the US more than $2 trillion and the lives of nearly 2,500 military personnel. But the American withdrawal was not only rapid and chaotic, it also seemed to undermine 2 decades of painful sacrifice, effectively abandoning the country to the very same Taliban which it had removed from power 2 decades earlier.
But it was just a fiasco because there was no planning done, which is very evident. And I just can't understand why. It's very unlike U.S. foreign policy not to have some contingency in plan, especially for a conflict they had been involved with for 20 years. So I'm dumbfounded about it.
Mr. President!
Like his predecessor Donald Trump, US President Joe Biden had always been opposed to the long-term American presence in Afghanistan. But he's finding that pulling out of the country is one thing. Formulating a strategy to deal with it from afar is another problem altogether. The US policy is to put pressure on the Taliban by freezing $3.5 billion of Afghan central bank money. But hopes that the group will reform, by allowing teenage girls to return to school, for example, have been dashed. And the discovery that the Al-Qaeda leader was living in Kabul has raised questions about the Americans' ability to deal with the threat of terrorism. The US successfully killed al-Zawahiri with a drone strike, but can it continue to rely on this so-called over-the-horizon strategy?
I don't think that's possible. You cannot fly drones all over Afghanistan. You cannot fly drones 24/7. You cannot monitor and detect every single terrorist group that is operating in Afghanistan. You need to have reliable partners on the ground.
And every decision Biden makes on Afghanistan is under extra scrutiny after the perceived humiliation of the way US troops left the country. But that doesn't mean the fiasco will necessarily cause him long-term harm politically.
The American public are highly critical of the way the withdrawal was handled, but not of the pullout itself. The Republicans are sure to try and make the debacle a stick to beat Joe Biden and the Democrats with in the upcoming midterm elections. But it's unlikely to be a factor in the way people vote. For most people, domestic issues, particularly the economy, are far more important.
The American people are uncertain what's going to happen. But at the same time, Afghanistan has kind of faded away. We see more media coverage of Mar-a-Lago than Afghanistan. So it has that impact.
And it will certainly suit the US president and his fellow Democrats if it stays that way. John Brain, TRT World, Washington.